Hearing for consideration of, as the mayor mentioned, the 5-year consolidated plan, the annual action plan, and the amended citizen participation plan. The consolidated plan is a 5-year planning document required by HUD, which identifies community needs and proposes uses of the CDBG and home program funds. Oops, sorry, I should be moving ahead. So, major components of the consolidated plan includes a community participation process, which included public meetings, public hearings, and a housing and community development needs assessment, which included surveys, both a SurveyMonkey to all residents and then to all service providers. The 5-year strategic plan is to establish priorities for addressing those needs, such as public improvements, public services, and also infrastructure. There is a 1-year action plan that identifies the use of federal CDBG and home funds for this next year, so effective October 1. So the 5-year consolidated plan goals, there's different areas that we look at: preserve existing and create new affordable housing, and that's usually through our home funds. Sustain and strengthen neighborhoods, that's through our effective code enforcement. Support social service agencies that assist homeless populations, and support social service agency that assists special needs populations. Preserve existing public facilities, that's our ADA improvements. Provide needed infrastructure improvements. Oops. And provide needed community services to low and moderate persons. And also to enhance economic opportunities for low and moderate people. So tonight we've heard about the final rule on Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing. So this rule has been discussed since 2013. It just was released approximately 2 weeks ago. It is 377 pages and several staff members have read it. It's not on the agenda tonight. We'll be preparing this program and we'll be bringing it back to the City Council in January or February 2016, and they'll start being public meetings in August, September of this year. We're part of a 17-member regional group that includes Newport Beach, it includes Costa Mesa, Lake Forest, Mission Viejo, Fountain Valley, Garden Grove, etc., that we're all looking at how to address this new affirmative furthering fair housing. And this is in taking in place of our former impediments to affordable housing. So the AI program, which we've been doing over the last 20 years, this is in lieu of that program. The major aspect of this rule actually is how we use the data. HUD will be providing us the data, and then we can supplant local data to make sure that we're focusing on what is happening in Huntington Beach. So, as I said, it's an update to an existing rule. It requires analysis using HUD's tools, which they haven't actually produced yet, so that it will be interesting. And its plan is to overcome barriers to affordable housing, which is very similar to our housing element that planning does, and we have to adopt every 5 years, 10 years. So this is a document that we'll have to adopt every 5 years. It's not an annual. Once it's adopted, it's for 5 years. So regulations do not compel enforcement. HUD cannot come in and change our zoning regulations. but HUD can enforce the fair housing law. So there's no new strings attached to this rule. There's existing strings. So, moving on to the current HUD allocation into our current action plan. So the CDBG program brings in about $970,000, and the home program $377,000. We do have a CDBG allocation process. Applications were accepted. 2 public hearings were conducted by the Citizen Participation Advisory Board, one at the Oakview neighborhood, and then one also here at City Hall. CPAB reviewed the application, held presentations by the applicant, made recommendations, and then they were heard at the joint study session with the City Council on June 1st. So there's several categories that receive allocations. Administration as Section 108 loan repayment through 2019. Housing rehab loan program code enforcement. Public service, which is a 15% cap, and public improvements. So the CPAB recommendations are for the Community Service Department, Oakview, Community Center Children's Bureau, Project Self-Sufficiency, and the Community Senior Outreach. Every year there's more requests than there is funding. And this year was extremely difficult, and that's why if you look at even 2014-15, what they received, some of them are a little lower than even last year because of all the requests. So new this year is a homeless outreach coordinator at $25,000. We're funding a little bit less the family literacy program. Our community senior served congregate meals and home delivered meals. We're funding just the congregate meals. Those are the meals at the senior center. Again, we received requests of $214,500, and we could only allocate $145,584. We had $134,000 for public improvements. So this year, we're putting all $134,327 into ADA renovations, maintenance zone 12. And we're also programming in some unprogrammed funds of $77,000 for 211-810. Our other unprogrammed funds we're recommending go to an Oakview classroom of $60,000. Our CDBG admin consists of program administration, that's staff, consultant, and then supplies of $164,000. Our Fair Housing Foundation, which is a requirement if you receive any federal funds, of $30,000. Special code enforcement of $236,000. Our housing rehabilitation loan program administration of $80,000, and our Section 108 loan repayment. For home, we have 10% maximum for administration, and then staff will be coming back to the council in the future with recommended programs for not just this year's $339,000, but last year's proposed money to be used. So, our next steps is to hopefully to approve the consolidated plan, the annual action plan, and the amended citizen participation plan, and we need to submit it to HUD by August 14th. Staff is here to answer any questions.